as absolute masterpieces. Others are buried forever in the graveyard of cinematic history. But then, there are those trapped in the middle. The outcasts, the experiments, the sequels and tropes that split the fandom down the middle, leaving blood, rage, and arguments on both sides. Tonight, we drag another genre offender out of the dark and put it under the courtroom lights. Welcome to the Court of Dread. This is Trial by Horror.
Testing. All right, we are rolling. Welcome everybody to a brand new wing of the GhostfaceHorror.com multimedia empire. I'm Shane.
And I'm Chloe. We are incredibly excited to welcome you to the premiere episode of Horror on Trial.
Yeah, this is a concept we've been kicking around the bullpen for a while. The horror fandom is beautiful, it's passionate, but let's be honest, it is completely divided. We love to argue. We argue about remakes, we argue about kills, we argue about pacing. So we thought, why not make it official? Why not put the genre's most controversial, polarizing, and deeply weird films on actual trial?
Exactly. And every single week, Shane and I, or our resident horror scholar Marcus, are going to rotate roles. One of us will prosecute the film, presenting a case for why it's a crime against cinema, and the other will defend it as an underrated masterpiece or a misunderstood gem.
But we aren't running this courtroom. To keep the peace and drop the gavel, we are bringing in the big guns. Chloe, who is sitting on the bench today?
Oh, you know him, you love him. He rules the airwaves over on Ghostface Horror Radio. It's the one, the only, the horror rock god.
He's currently putting on his robes, which I'm pretty sure are just a leather jacket with Justice spray painted on the back. But before he steps out and we lock into our official courtroom roles, Chloe, baseline thoughts on today's target. We are doing Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday from 1993. When was the first time you actually sat down and watched this thing?
Oh God, I think I rented it on a scratched up VHS tape from a local video store when I was way too young. I remember looking at the box art, the silver hockey mask with that demonic fleshy worm wrapping through the eye socket, and thinking, this is going to be the scariest thing I've ever seen. And then I watched it, and my brain completely melted because it wasn't a Friday movie at all. But over the years, I've grown to absolutely adore its insanity. What about you?
I saw it on a late-night cable broadcast in the late 90s. I tuned in right around the middle of the movie, and I spent about 40 minutes genuinely wondering if I had the channel wrong. I kept looking at the TV guide thinking, is this The Hidden? Is this an episode of The X-Files? Where is the guy in the hockey mask? I hated it then, Chloe. I really did. And to prepare for this episode, I rewatched it last night. And guess what? I still hate it.
Well, you're going to have to prove it because I am ready to fight dirty today.
All right, let's stop playing nice. The judge is walking in. Let's make this official.
All rise, heavy metal maniacs, gore hounds, and creatures of the night. The Supreme Court of Slasher Cinema is officially in session. I am your judge, your jury commissioner, and your master of ceremonies, the horror rock god. And tonight we are dragging horror's most controversial outcasts out of the dark and putting them under the stadium lights. For our very first case, we are tackling a movie so polarizing it practically tore the horror community in half back in 1993. Case number 001. Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday. The charges brought before this court by the people: criminal destruction of established slasher lore, extreme bait and switch marketing, and the completely unhinged decision to swap out cinema's greatest masked killer for a body-hopping, throat-tentacle-growing demonic parasite. Stepping up to the prosecutor's podium tonight, we have Shane, armed with logic, rage, and a copy of the original franchise rules. And standing directly in the path of the executioner, Chloe is stepping up for the defense, out to prove this flick is a misunderstood masterpiece of 90s supernatural weirdness. Keep your objections tight, counsel. I've got a short fuse, a heavy gavel, and a guitar amp turned up to 11. Shane, you've got the floor. Give the grand jury your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the prosecution's case today hinges on a fundamental concept: accountability. When a studio puts out a film and they plaster a giant, iconic silver hockey mask across the poster, and they put the word Jason in the title, they are entering into a sacred, unwritten contract with the horror community. That contract states very clearly, you are paying hard-earned money to see Jason Voorhees stalk people. What does director Adam Marcus give us instead? He gives us exactly 5 minutes of classic Jason. 5 minutes! And then he brings in an FBI airstrike to blow our slasher king into chili meat. For the remaining 80 minutes of the runtime, Jason is played by a bald coroner eating a black heart, a state trooper, a random dude named Phil, and a reporter. It is an egregious, insulting bait and switch. They killed the slasher genre's greatest icon in the first act and replaced him with a low-rent sci-fi possession plot. It's a crime against the franchise, and it deserves a guilty verdict. The prosecution rests.
A blistering opening salvo from the prosecution. The court feels the heat. Chloe, you are at the defense podium. Look the jury in the eye and defend the indefensible.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the jury, context is everything. Let's look at the historical record. By the time 1989 rolled around, Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, had completely tanked the franchise. It was a critical disaster, a box office failure, and the traditional zombie walks through the woods and pokes a teenager with a stick formula was dead, stale, and completely buried. The genre was changing. What Jason Goes to Hell did when it moved over to New Line Cinema was incredibly brave. It dared to take a risk. It injected high-concept, dark fantasy lore into a tired, repetitive mythos. It gave us the incredible bounty hunter Creighton Duke, some of the absolute best, most jaw-dropping practical gore effects in the entire 9-film run, and it had the guts to do something weird. If you want the exact same formula, go watch Part 4 or Part 7 again. This movie gave the franchise a pulse when it was flatlining, and it set up the greatest crossover in horror history. Not guilty, Your Honor.
Beautifully argued, counsel. Now let's get into the meat of this trial. We are opening up the evidentiary phase. I want to look at the specific scenes, the specific crimes, and the specific triumphs of this movie. Let's bring out Exhibit A, the FBI ambush. Counselors, let's set the scene. A lone girl arrives at a cabin in Crystal Lake. She takes a shower. Jason appears. He chases her into the woods. Standard Friday stuff, right? Except it's a trap. Spotlights hit him. Flares go off. A literal army of FBI agents step out of the bushes and blast Jason Voorhees into a million pieces with high-powered rifles and a mortar shell. Shane, talk to me. Why is this a crime?
Your Honor, it's a crime because it shatters the reality of the universe. For 8 movies, Jason Voorhees has been terrorizing the local county. The local police department treats him like an urban legend or a minor nuisance. Then suddenly, Within the first 5 minutes of this movie, the federal government has a tactical military black ops unit deployed in the woods with spotlights and explosives specifically calibrated to assassinate him? Where were these guys in Part 6? Where were they when he was walking through Times Square in Part 8? It's completely ridiculous, and it serves one purpose: to get Jason out of his iconic body as fast as possible, because the director didn't want to make a traditional Friday movie.
Can I cross-examine that, Your Honor?
Permission granted. Step up to the mic, Chloe.
Shane, you are looking at this all wrong. The FBI ambush is one of the most explosive, high-budget, jaw-dropping subversions of expectation in slasher history. In 1993, audiences walked into that theater expecting another slow-paced sequel where Jason kills 2 counselors in the first 10 minutes. Instead, Adam Marcus blows the roof off the place. He tells the audience right away, the old rules don't apply anymore. You cannot stop this guy with normal means. And let's talk about the practical effect right after the blast. When the smoke clears and we see Kane Hodder's scorched, smoking boots, and then his literal, disembodied heart still beating on the ground. That is peak comic book horror imagery.
Oh great, a beating heart. Which leads us directly to Exhibit B, Your Honor, the body hopping. Let's talk about the coroner scene.
Oh yeah, the morgue scene. Let's lay it down. The coroner is doing an autopsy on Jason's blown-up remains. He looks at the giant black supernatural heart. He gets hypnotized by it, and then he literally picks it up and eats it like a sloppy Joe. Now Jason's soul is inside the coroner. Shane, prosecute.
It is vile, and not in a good horror way, in a narrative way. Because for the next hour of this movie, Kane Hodder, the definitive, most physically imposing stuntman to ever wear the hockey mask, is sitting in the trailer. Instead, we have a bald, middle-aged character actor walking around in a suit, pretending to be Jason by tilting his head slightly. Then he passes the demonic essence to a state trooper, who passes it to someone else via a giant, weird throat tentacle. If I wanted to watch The Hidden, I would rent The Hidden. I bought a ticket for Friday the 13th. You cannot have a slasher movie where the slasher icon is absent for 80% of the runtime. It kills the tension, it kills the atmosphere, and frankly, it's boring.
Boring? Shane, did we watch the same movie last night? How can you call the body-hopping era boring when it contains some of the most legendary gore sequences of the entire 1990s? Let's look at the evidence. When Jason is in the body of the state trooper and he goes into that diner, the sheer brutality on display. He punches a guy so hard his jaw flies off. He folds a woman backward over a counter and snaps her spine. And what about the tent scene? 2 teenagers are in a tent, suspended in the air, and Jason takes a post hole digger and literally rips a girl completely in half from the crotch up. The MPAA absolutely slaughtered this movie back in the day, but the unrated cut is a masterclass in KNB practical effects. It doesn't matter if he's wearing the mask, the violence is pure Jason Voorhees.
Objection, Your Honor!
State your objection, Shane.
The violence is not pure Jason. Jason Voorhees is a force of nature. He doesn't shave people. Remember the scene where the coroner ties a guy to a chair and shaves his face to prep him for possession? Jason Voorhees doesn't use shaving cream and a straight razor, Chloe. It's bizarre.
It's creepy. It shows that the demonic entity inhabiting these bodies is calculating, cold, and supernatural. It elevates him from a mute zombie into a literal mythological curse. Which leads perfectly to Exhibit C, Your Honor, the expanded lore.
Ah yes, the lore overhaul. Let's talk about it. Suddenly, we find out Jason has a half-sister named Diana Kimball, a niece named Jessica, and according to the magical bounty hunter Creighton Duke, Jason can only be truly destroyed by a blood relative using a magical ancient dagger. Furthermore, he can only be reborn into his physical form if his demonic spirit crawls into the womb of a living Voorhees. Chloe, defend the lore.
Look, if you actually pay attention to the background details of the Voorhees house in this movie, it is a treasure trove for horror geeks. Sitting right there on the table is the Necronomicon Ex Mortis from Evil Dead. Director Adam Marcus confirmed that his in-universe explanation is that Pamela Voorhees used the Book of the Dead to resurrect Jason after he drowned as a child. That is why he's a supernatural, unkillable monster. It ties the Friday franchise directly into the Sam Raimi universe. That is genius world building. And can we please talk about Creighton Duke? He's hands down one of the coolest, most charismatic characters ever introduced in a slasher film. The guy buys airtime on a trashy talk show just to tell the world, I know how to kill him, and if you pay me enough money, I'll do it. He breaks a reporter's finger on live television just to prove a point. He brings incredible energy to the movie.
Creighton Duke is a complete fraud, Chloe. He spends the entire movie acting like he's the ultimate badass, talking about how he's the only one who understands the mystical properties of the Voorhees bloodline. And then what happens when he finally fights Jason at the end? Jason picks him up, throws him against a bear hug, breaks his back like Bane breaking Batman, and dumps him in the dirt. He accomplished absolutely nothing. And as for the lore, it's completely unearned. A magical dagger? A secret sister we've never heard of in 8 movies? It feels like they had a script for a generic dark fantasy movie called The Demon Dagger, realized nobody would buy it, and then pasted Jason's name onto it at the last minute. It's lazy writing, and it completely ruins the elegant simplicity of the character. Jason doesn't need ancient prophecy. He needs a machete and a grudge.
Order in the court. Counselors, take a breath, step away from the podiums, and join me in a brief sidebar. Let's look at the historical record outside of our own opinions. Let's look at the facts. Adam Marcus was only 23 years old when Sean S. Cunningham handed him the keys to this franchise. 23. Imagine being a kid and suddenly you're told, hey, go direct the final chapter of one of the biggest horror IPs on Earth. When you look at it from that perspective, you have to respect the absolute balls it took for a young director to look at a massive studio and say, I'm going to blow him up in 5 minutes and turn him into a parasite. Shane, does his youth excuse the crime?
Honestly, Your Honor, it explains it, but it doesn't excuse it. When you're 23, you want to make your mark. You want to show off. But sometimes, showing off means you overcomplicate a working machine. He tried to make a Clive Barker movie out of a Friday the 13th movie. I respect the ambition, but the execution is still a car crash.
See, I think his youth is exactly why the movie has so much wild, reckless energy. A seasoned studio director would have made a safe, boring, paint-by-numbers sequel like Part 8. Adam Marcus brought in K&B effects. He brought in high-concept ideas, and he gave us that legendary ending. Your Honor, we cannot talk about this movie without talking about the final 5 seconds.
Oh, you know I've been waiting for this. Let's talk about the final frame. The trial is coming to an end. Jessica stabs Jason with the dagger. The hands of hell literally burst through the dirt and drag him down into the underworld. The dust settles. The music gets quiet. And then, a dog barks. A lone hockey mask is sitting in the dirt. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Freddy Krueger's metal-clawed glove bursts out of the ground, grabs the hockey mask, and drags it down to hell as the screen cuts to black. Man, I remember being a kid when that happened, and the entire theater stood up and started screaming. It was electric. Shane, even a cynical prosecutor like you has to admit that is one of the greatest moments in horror history.
It is a legendary moment, Your Honor. I will grant the defense that point. It is an iconic cliffhanger. But here is my counter-argument. A movie cannot be judged solely on its last 5 seconds. That ending promised a war, Freddy versus Jason, that took the studio 10 years of development hell to actually deliver. You shouldn't have to sit through 85 minutes of a bald coroner walking around a swamp just to get to a 5-second teaser for a movie that wouldn't come out until a decade later.
Order. The sidebar is closed. The jury has heard the evidence, they've seen the exhibits, and they've watched the sparks fly. Counselors, it is time to deliver your final, uninterrupted pleas to the grand jury. Shane, step up for the prosecution's closing argument.
Members of the jury, don't let nostalgia, cool practical gore, or a 5-second cliffhanger blind you to the reality of what this movie is. Jason Goes to Hell is a deeply frustrating, structurally broken film that fundamentally completely misunderstands why people love slasher cinema. It stripped Jason Voorhees of his physical presence, his iconic mask, and his slasher identity, trading elegant, high-tension horror for a messy, convoluted, body-hopping plotline that belongs in a completely different franchise. It broke the contract with the fans. It is a crime against the Friday the 13th legacy, and it deserves to be locked away forever. I ask you to return a verdict of guilty as charged. Thank you.
Powerful words from the prosecution. Chloe, step up to the podium. Give us the defense's final stand.
Grand jury, I ask you to look at this film not for what it isn't, but for what it beautifully, aggressively is. Jason Goes to Hell is a balls-to-the-wall, fiercely original, incredibly bloody supernatural ride. It took massive, dangerous creative risks at a time when the slasher genre was completely dead and buried in the 1990s. It gave us top-tier practical effects that still hold up today, one of the most charismatic bounty hunters to ever grace the screen, and it expanded the lore in a way that made Jason a terrifying, mythic, demonic force, rather than just a mindless zombie in a swamp. It is fun, it is unhinged, and it is a masterpiece of 90s weirdness. Do the right thing. Protect a misunderstood gem and return a verdict of not guilty.
The arguments have been made. The evidence has been laid bare. Now, the scales of justice belong entirely to you, the heavy metal grand jury of GhostfaceHorror.com. The court is officially handing this case over to the listeners. I want you to drop your headsets, close out your audio player, and head over to the official Trial by Horror page on GhostfaceHorror.com right now to cast your official vote. Is Jason Goes to Hell a franchise atrocity that deserves a lifetime solitary sentence? Or is it a blood-soaked, underrated classic? Make your voices heard in the comments section on the site, because we are opening up the next episode by reading the jury's final verdict. And I will be personally shouting out the most brutal, analytical, and hilarious user comments right here on the air. Next week, our resident horror scholar Marcus is stepping into the courtroom to lock horns with Shane, and they are putting Halloween 3 Season of the Witch on the stand. You do not want to miss it. Until then, this court is officially adjourned. Now vacate my courtroom before I make you part of the body count.
GhostfaceHorror.com. Hello, Sydney. Welcome to the frequency. Something's wrong, I can feel it. It's that 3117 chill. 6 minutes of carnage. The signal didn't fade. We aren't just taking chances. We're rewriting the DNA. I'm beginning to feel like a phantom in the machine. Look, I was gonna go easy, keep the crime scene clean, but I'm bananas, B-A-N-A-N-A-S, forensic audit the flow. I'm the shape in the shadows, watch the dark orange glow. Knives coming at you with that supernatural speed, superhuman innovator, planting every dark seed. What I gotta do to get it through to you? I'm the legend in the mask, devastating the audience. It's a monumental task. I'm a titan, I'm a giant, I'm the ghost on the dial, broadcasting from overtake. Yeah, it's been a long while. I'm the reason they're shaking, I'm the glitch in their head. I'm 96, big 6, the voice of the dead. I don't need a label or a fake industry deal. I'm a renegade rebel spinning the cinematic wheel. They wanna cancel the name, let them try to stop the fire. I'm the king of the basement, climbing higher and higher. I'm beginning to feel like a horror rock god, locked in the god mode. Studio 3117, watch the system explode. From the front to the back, let the heavy bass nod. I'm a monster, a myth. hear the subwoofers booming. It's the 90s heaven, they boost the genre's foundation, mixed with the digital pulse of a new generation. I'm the truth in the silence, I'm the shadow on the wall. I'm the one who stands tall when the other guys fall. Forensic with the bars, audit every single line. Studio 3117, the design is divine. I'm beginning to feel like a horror rock god, locked in God mode. Studio 3117, watch the system explode. From the front to the back, let the heavy bass nod. I'm a monster, a myth, I'm a lightning rod. A horror rock god, I'm in God mode. Paving the road where the blood is flowed. Breaking the rules, shattering the code. Carrying the culture while the heavens erode. Step into the gallery of the icons of fear, where the legends are born and the exits disappear. I'm the silent white mask staring back from the porch, the undying flame